Welcome once again to the Sage. If you were with us the last episode, well done. You missed, if you were not, you missed a discussion you shouldn't have missed. But however, the good news is it's available on our YouTube. The address is right here on the screen. Please do go to the YouTube and you would see our discussion last week. But let's dive in. Shall I welcome once again our guest, whom you already saw last week, Weyinmi Eribo, the Director General Foundation of WASIMA, who will continue the discussion we started last week, but from a different dimension. I'm sure many of our guests are wondering, why is this lady on my left, Mrs. Ngozi Rowland Onuegwunwoke, sitting and silently observing the both of us talk? The episode before then, we talked to Ngozi extensively. We had Weyinmi last week. Now we reveal the connections between these two beautiful ladies. Tell us the connection. Tell us the relationship between WASIMI and SEM Spices. I already know it's an amazing journey, but let our audience share as well.
Ngozi, do you want to share? Or should I go?
You're my boss, so go first. You have another boss?
So I mean, at WASIMA is really the Women Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture. And as you know, she said, during the introduction last week, we actually take our roots from the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture. So WASIMA is really the specialized vehicle for women-owned businesses within the chamber. And the work that we do at WASIMA, because of our depth of knowledge of supporting women-owned businesses, we work across 4 strategic pillars. And the first is capacity building. And capacity building is really wide. And capacity building, like I always say, means different things to different people at different phases of the entrepreneurship journey. But we look at capacity building from end to end in terms of the entrepreneurship skills itself, financial literacy skills, technology adoption skills, really just how do we improve the capacities of the women-owned businesses that are within the chamber. We also work across access to finance because money is extremely important for any business person, and extremely important for women, just also because we understand the intricacies around getting money for women, especially around the structures of their businesses, their understanding of finance, and financial literacy and things like that. So we take very strong stance around access to funding, ensuring that we're able to get affordable funding, accessible funding for women-owned businesses.
Affordable, that's an interesting word.
Yes, affordable, because interest rates are killing. So we ensure that the funding that we provide access to for our women is not money that will put them into more trouble, for lack of a better word. And then we also work around access to markets, right? So it's one thing to start a business, have the capacity to run, get money to improve your business and to scale, but who's buying your products? Right, so we try to provide both local and international linkages, market linkages for women-owned businesses. And we do that through local B2B meetings, trade fairs, and international ones as well. Of course, as a chamber, one of the things that we do is also host trade missions, taking businesses across the world really, to provide market linkages for them, both.
Is it too late to take me?
No, ma'am, no.
There's one coming up in Ghana soon.
We'll be in Ghana next week.
Okay.
We're actually taking, so we had about 10, 15 women sign up for that. Last year we were in Namibia with 15 women, as well. So we do that from time to time, just trying to really ensure that we're getting the products of our women into the right spaces, and providing whatever it is they need within that ecosystem to sell their products. And then finally advocacy, because we must talk. Our voices must be on the table. We cannot continue to sit down and let policies be designed for us. and regulations and things like that really just affect women or don't have the gender angle or the gender lens to policies. So we do quite a bit of advocacy. Last year we were everywhere. Also because it was our foundational year, so we tried to spread the message of WASIMA. And we really just use advocacy to ensure that when they're thinking about women in trade and industry and commerce and the rest of them, we are smack in the middle of those conversations. So WASIMA is a membership-based organization. We support individual businesses, but we also support clusters, because we recognize that to be able to support just individual businesses, we may not be fast enough. The world is moving and the world is moving very quickly. So how do we ensure that the resources that are available, we're able to put it together in such a way that it strengthens more women at the same time? And that's where I think the link between Ngozi and I actually that's where it comes in. I was sitting in my office one day, jejely, and she walks in, and we had a great conversation. And I think that she introduced a cluster, which is the BMF cluster. And funny enough, she was actually the very first person, the very first cluster to sign up under WASIMA.
Really?
Yes, yeah. We had just introduced.
What happened? C4C is not a cluster?
And funny enough, we were still trying to design the cluster membership support. When she came in, and I said, look, she explained and said how many members they have spread across the country. She really shared the depth of, I'm sure she shared that, the depth of story of how that cluster, how everything really came into fore. And she literally said to my team members, said, let me go and raise the money and come back. And they did. And so for me, that level of dedication, I think one of the things that I see a lot is, and we can't really blame them, but people are looking for free stuff, right? So, but people who take the time to actually invest in themselves, I would go as far as I can, because they understand what it means to invest in themselves. And like I said in the last show, I'm one for personal development. So I believe very heavily in investing in myself, and also the soft girl baby life. I had to throw that in, but I believe very strongly in investing in yourself. And so when when they made that payment and became the official first cluster under WASIMA, it actually put me under a lot of pressure, because I'm like, this has to make sense for these people. Regardless of where they are, it has to make sense. What do we do?
You on?
Indeed, it has to make sense, for these people. So luckily, we became implementing partners for the UNDP HA After program, and the HA After is actually a pioneer program as well under the UNDP, where they are positioning women-owned businesses to be able to take advantage of trade under the AFCFTA agreement. So under the HA After program, we're providing capacity building, access to funding, because there's another partner that provides trade finance for people who are within the program as well. They also provide B2B opportunities. So the trade mission to Namibia was fully funded by the UNDP. Last year. We have within that program, we have an export consultant working with the women. We have a legal consultant working with the women. And all of that. One of the beautiful things that then came out of that program is also cluster support. And in cluster support, it was how do we improve the capacities of these clusters to do more. This cluster support conversation.
What constitutes a cluster?
Yes. So a cluster is really a group of women who are really working around the same trade area, in a sense. So I'll use for example, they have a group of them within the BMF that are agro-processors, right? So they produce different spices, and different things. So if a group of women come together and are using shared resources to, even if they're running individual businesses, but they're using shared resources to...
Like equipment
exactly,
and so on.
Exactly. They're using shared resources to support their businesses. Those are what we classify as clusters. We have clusters of farmers, women who farm on the same land. They have their own part of it, but they farm on the same land. We have clusters. We actually just had the women group of the Palm Oils Association of Nigeria join WASIMA as well. So they are within the palm oil space, but they work together, within the palm oil space. So this actually came about because one of the women some of the businesses that we had taken to Namibia, the first beneficiaries of HA After, we had a conversation with one of them who produces adire material. She's a fashion designer, but sometimes it takes up to a month to be able to supply her customers because of the process of, producing adire. And the adire space, production space is shrinking so much. So we said to ourselves, okay, for a woman like this, how do we improve her access to value chains that can produce more adire for her so she can supply if she's already exporting, right? So it was like a backward integration conversation for us, and it landed us in clusters. Because for somebody like Sem Spices, who maybe is producing dried ginger, right? And we have a business who's already exporting and ginger is one of her spices. It's a backward value integration because they can produce more, provide to her. She brands, does her certifications or whatever it is that she needs to do, and she exports. So we're improving the value chain linkages for women-owned businesses.
Let me butt in there and say, we are going to discuss this before we conclude this beautiful exchange. But I want to put a thought down there. Because as you talk about clusters, again, I look at the possible collaboration with C4C in that. Because over the years, going through our program, we can proudly say, after Ngozi's first set, that we probably have up to 100 young entrepreneurs who've gone through the program. And we are beginning to have clusters. We have those that are fashion designers, those that are cosmetics, those that are in media and so on, and that perhaps we are a natural hub of clusters. We'll discuss that.
There. We'll come there. And so, when it was time to, we had the conversation with the UNDP, and they said, you know what, let's provide equipment for clusters that can improve the capacities of what they're doing. But the beautiful thing is, it's not just providing random equipment, it's solar powered, because the world is moving green. You also don't want to provide equipment for women that they cannot use because they don't have money to buy power, to be able to power the machineries, and everything. So we decided to, from the pool of clusters that we had, both from our end and the UNDP end, we did a review and selected a few of them, I think about 5 of them, and BMF was one. BMF was one of those clusters, also because of the depth of work she has done, and the reach and the number of women that she works with as well. So yeah, that's what we did, and we also, I think it's interesting to say that the supplier of the equipment is also a woman. It's also a woman-owned business. So we're trying to empower as many people as possible, within this ecosystem. And so yeah, we provided solar-powered dryers, dehydrators, and slicers, because most of the stuff that they do, dried fruits, dried spices, so those are the kind of equipments that they really need, and we're really hopeful. In fact, I'm really looking forward to seeing their production move from 1x to hopefully 100x, and they actually just take over Abuja market.
Let's hear your
my boss has said it all. For me, one thing, I call her Dr. Wey. Of course, she's a doctor, Dr. Weyinmi Eribo. So I just choose to call her Dr. Wey. For me, one of the things that clicked was I admired her passion for women empowerment, because it's something I do myself. But like I usually tell her, I say, when I look at you, I'm learning work, because your passion is on a different level entirely, So the first time we met, it was at an exhibition in Capitol Hub. So she came to my stand. She was like, "Oh, you do this? And the opportunity. Have you said exporting?" I was like, "We call it portfolio export, right? Because it's not like the official export." Yeah. I'm like, "Yeah." She was like, "Oh, this is really good." So we struck up a conversation. We started talking. I told her, "Oh, this is my passion. This is what drives me. This is why I started the business. I had a near-death experience, and I just shared basically my story and how far I've come." And she was able to relate, so that was where the connection came from. And then I remember you went for a meeting. We had an extensive conversation, so I was giving her ideas. Okay, I have a business group, this is what we do, women coming together, this is how it started and all. And then she went for a meeting, and then she came back. And I was like, "Oh, you stepped out, can I have your contact?" She was like, "I went for a meeting, and most of the things we talked about gave her like ideas of even what to share in the meeting and all that." I was like, "Okay," so we exchanged contact. And that was it. And then I called my team. I said, "You know what? I've seen somebody that has passion more than me for this thing. So let's go and pay her a courtesy visit and see how we can collaborate." So we went to her office that day, and we had an amazing discussion. And she was like, "Okay, first of all, for you to start benefiting from the platform, you have to register as a member. And I was like, okay, good. So how much is it? They're like, because of your number and all that, you have to do the corporate elite registration. I was like, okay, how much is it? And she told us. I was like, okay. In my mind, I said, even if not 10 million, we must make that money. You see this thing, we don't have finished.
Is it a secret or can...
No, if you want to register,
it's open.
It's open. If you want to register, just walk up to the office at
No, I'm talking about how much it costs to register.
No, it was 600,000. 500
That's not a
and
lot.
then 100,000.
Because we say that to our viewers.
Yes, it was 500,000.
For other groups that may want to
So what they
approach
did,
you.
because they have above 40 members
Yes.
spread across the country, they had to do the business elite, which is the 500,000 registration and then 100,000 annual fees.
Yeah.
So the first year is 600, but after that you pay 100,000, regardless of how many you are.
And like I always like to say, that was the best decision we ever took. As in registering with Wasima was the best decision we ever took. You know, so we went to the, when we finished the meeting with you, we went to the car park, and I was like, okay, you guys are not expecting me to bring this money from my pocket. You must show me some level of seriousness. So how do we raise this money? And amazingly, we did. We raised the money, and I called them and said, we are ready. And we paid for it. I was like, okay. And since we joined Wasima, it's been an amazing journey of capacity building, like she said. In fact, some of us have benefited from digital training skills. Where you go, they will train you, they will still pay you for coming for training. You know, things like that.
Are you is that a stab at secret? Because mommy will soon discipline you.
Not at all. Not at all, you know. So we had access to market, but every time I meet her, she inspires me. Well, she was talking about presence a few minutes ago. She was like, oh, I have to do. I'm like, you cannot afford to give up. Oh. People like us, we are in the line waiting. A lot of destinies are tied to you, so you just can't afford to give up. And the most amazing part of it was, you know, the last time we came to the house, I said, as in, I've not grasped the fact that UNDP through Wasima gave us all they gave us. Like, it's still like a dream, you know, because we have to do rosters and all that. I'm like, okay, we started the rosters, but I'm like, let's put them. They're asking me, oh, when do we start production? I said, we are planning a symposium June 14th. Let's finish our symposium first, you know. But we've already started doing the roster and all that. And it was like, I can't even, you know, I got a call, okay, they are empowering clusters. What do you people produce? They came, they did interviews. You know, some of the members were around, they interviewed them, they talked about their business and all. You know, in Nigeria, it's difficult to get free things free. It's still like a dream, if I should use the word, you know.
That's a tautology. It's
difficult
difficult to get free things.
Yeah. There's always something attached somewhere. Someone is doing something or expecting, you know. And then they called and said that the equipment have arrived. I was like, eh? I called one of my admin. I said, you have to come. They said they are bringing the equipment. No, this is like dreams. Last year we were waiting for it. And I started videoing them from when the car was reversing into the compound. And we're videoing them when they were offloading. I was like, no, this thing is still like a dream. Just hold on. Maybe if you sleep, wake up. If you
it will not be there.
It will not be there, you know. So it's been amazing because I can't even begin to fathom as in what is going to come out from that. In terms of production capacity, in terms of now what we are even looking at, part of the roster we are doing every month, we are training 25 community members. We go randomly to different community, we choose 25 women and we train them for free. We empower them.
Train them on what?
Agro-processing, using their localized products. What do you produce in your community? Come, let's teach you how you can process them and add value so that you can make more money. So for us, they did not just empower our cluster, but they empowered us to empower even more women out there. Because when you empower a woman, you empower generations. So that is something that is very dear to our heart. And our roster starts from 1st of June. So from 1st of June, we are opening up to anybody who is interested. You can reach us. You can send us a mail on brownpreneurmf@gmail.com. You can call 07033982352. You get a free training because what we got it for free. We got 30 solar power panels. We got solar batteries. We got a 96 tray solar dehydrator and a slicer. It's something amazing for us because it's going to increase capacity by over 200%. And it's going to give us the ability to empower more women and to get more people into our hub. And we're already talking to NAFDAC, so they're going to come check out the facility and see how these members can not just only produce, but can get their NAFDAC certifications.
You know, both of you have said so much that, again, I think you stole the C4C script. Ngozi herself should know that. In a way, you know, when you talk about empowering and all the things, you know, it's also the concepts we teach in C4C. But we have so much pride and joy in seeing what has evolved, because whether she likes it or not, she's a product.
Indeed.
Of course.
What you see her as has partially been contributed to by Conversation for Change. She embodies.
C4C was the first free thing I got free.
You know, so when we strive with our program, it is to position them to be what Ngozi is, to be able to pitch, to be able to see opportunities, to be able to be innovative, to be able to be courageous, to believe in themselves, to work hard, to always be looking, you know. And so she is indeed the head girl. She's the first class principal, and she leads our alumni association. But not just because she, for those things embodied in our curriculum, in our teaching, she is a beautiful example of. So we're always so proud of her. And therefore we share wholeheartedly in the joy of her work with you. And she knows that, you know, and let me say that as the organization, her cluster, many of them, perhaps half of them, have gone through the C4C. They are fellows, you know. So there's that, you know, interchange that is always happening. There are fellows. Many of them understood C4C and applied because of Ngozi, you know, all right? But they went through the training and, you know, so we like to think we're part of your success story, all right?
C4C is our grandmother.
And it's wonderful to see you doing things for them that we could never, with our limited resources, ever hope to do, but which we continue to dream for them. So it's wonderful. And we thank you. C4C thanks you for those things as we urge you to continue. But you see, for our viewers, we don't just talk. The next episode is going to be going to see the equipment, all right? It's not just having described it on the studio. The team, my media team, is going to go video and demonstrate and show our audience the wonderful things that have been given to the BMF Association, and to assure them that this is the beginning. Many more of the clusters, potential clusters we have, and so on, will see, learn, benefit, and together as a group of well-meaning individuals who give free things for free.
For free.
We shall empower many more entrepreneurs out there, women and young people. Let me before I wind up this session and take them on the documentary to go see the equipment, let me just make a plea on behalf of my young male entrepreneurs who have also benefited from the program. Do you know that at a point in time in C4C, we considered what we called a female mentorship initiative, where we focus on young women and help them with entrepreneurship and other life skills. And my board of directors objected. They said no, that actually the young men in this country are beginning to become a endangered species. That they're confused now about their role in the family and in the society. And some of the problems we have with marriages that you talked about, for instance, is really because they're confused.
The understanding is not there.
They're confused. they still have the prototype of their fathers and grandfathers who are heads of households, who are served round the clock. And the world has changed. The young women, many have been empowered and moved on. And so my board said no. And I agree with them. Both sexes have problems. They're confused. They need different problems, but they need empowerment. So someday we might sell that to Wasima, and you will change your name to.
In fact, someone has said to me, we were going to create a men's chamber to be Mensima. Like,
okay, that's good.
So that is an aside, but relevant. I joke, but it's not all a joke.
I hear you. I hear you. But just to bring it a little back, would be that because of the kind of society that we've had for such a long time, I'm sure you know we have the qualities, the conversations of equality and equity.
Yeah.
When we get
I worked for UNFPA.
Exactly.
I'm a gender
so when we get to the equality conversations, we will bring the men in. But when we get to equity conversations, for now,
precisely,
we need to get more women there. But I hear you, and also even for me, when I think about it, I have a daughter, right? And I think about her peers in terms of boys when they grow up, who are the kind of people that they're going to be having conversations with. What are they going to be able to talk about? And my daughter is 13, but because of the kind of mother she has, she's already a very strong woman, not girl, but she's very independent in the way that she thinks. She corrects me. You know, so I'm thinking that it's really a burden, and I hear you, and I agree that it's really a burden. But this will be me also trying to throw it out to say, most of the conversations we've had around women's economic empowerment have been championed by women. So if we're getting to this point where we're beginning to see that the young boys of today, we need men to actually stand up and put them in the place that they should be. We need more men who understand what it means to be men, to actually mentor these boys. Women cannot mentor boys. I mean, we will try. We will try, but we also don't understand the men's role in the way that the men understand it. So we actually need it, which is why the conversations I'm having these days, it's not a women's conversation, it's everybody's conversation. Because when men understand women's issue, we call them he for she's. Yeah. We have a lot of I have friends who have sons, you know, and they're very intentional about raising their sons in a very, in a way that is not patriarchal, or they don't grow up into those patriarchal definitions that the society has given to it. But how much can they as women teach? How much can we as women teach? So I'm using this platform, this opportunity to call on the men to please come out and mentor the young boys. I want my daughter to grow up and, get married to a man who understands what it means to be a man.
Let me just say that I have said that, but the fact remains that we run a totally impartial open portal and people apply, and 70 to 80% of applications are women. So you see, so C4C in the end remains a largely women populated group. But again, it may speak to a need for reaching out to the other side. But we'll come. That's another discussion for another day. We will wind up the session and say to our viewers, you can't afford to miss any of the forthcoming episodes. We're taking you to see this amazing support. It isn't just talk. We're, next episode, providing a documentary where the wonderful equipment supplied to this cluster is there for you to view, to see, and to believe. Stay with us. See you next week.